Hello, Malcolm here, and welcome to Tuesday Teaching Tips, episode 303. And today we're talking about the challenges of procrastination and perfectionism. Some things I learned this last Sunday and the week running up to the Sunday. How do we deal with the challenges of procrastination and perfectionism? Now, I'm not going to give you a lot of psychological tips here. You can find those elsewhere on the web. But what I am going to talk about today is some things that came out of my experience in the last few days. So last week, we had a family bereavement, a very significant one. It had a big impact on my time and our family's time in terms of energy, time, and just everything else going on. It meant that I did not have the normal time I would have to prepare the lesson. I did preach on Sunday, but I had very little time, just really Sunday morning to prepare, which is not ideal. Please don't do that as a regular habit. But now and again, things happen, don't they? I could have delegated the sermon to somebody else, but it didn't feel fair to drop it on them at the last minute. And I had studied the text thoroughly, so I did know the text, and which we'll come back to that point in a moment, because that's really significant. However, I think the lesson, given the reception it had on Sunday, seemed to go really well. As in, I think it met needs. And people, both while I was speaking, but also afterwards, told me they found it very helpful. You can be the judge of that. Watch it and tell me what you think. But so what I learned this week was three things. I'll share with you, and then you can tell me what you think. Firstly, when we don't have the time and we're tempted to take more and more time or procrastinate or try to get the thing perfect, the first thing we need to remember is it's really important to trust the text. Trust the text. We've got to trust this. Not trust our training or trust our expertise or trust the fact that we've spent a certain amount of time preparing, or that we've got X number of slides, or that we've got a structure that looks perfect. Not that such a thing exists, but trusting not our talent, trusting the text. And this challenged me on Sunday, and I'm grateful for the challenge, that in the end, my confidence in the lesson must not be in my preparation. My confidence in the lesson must be in the fact that God is in the text. Now, it did help that I knew the text I was speaking on thoroughly. I really did know it. I'd studied it in the autumn of last year, and in the spring of this year, 2023, I had lots of notes. I was preaching on the last part of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 12 to 28. And I don't want to, I'm not saying I'm not boasting. I just really did know the text. I could always know it better, but I did know, and I had studied it. And I think this makes a big difference. And one of the solutions to procrastination on preparing your lesson is to have not procrastinated on studying the text. And studying the text is a lot easier than preparing the outline for the lesson, I would say. And so if you're going to put more energy into something, don't put it so much into the preparation of the actual outline of your lesson, though that's important. Put more of the effort into studying the text. So rather than worry about dealing with the procrastinatory tendency of the structural preparation, deal with the tendency towards procrastination of study. And that's easier, in my opinion and my experience. Let me know what you think. Study it thoroughly. The text has the power. That's where the transformational power is. Trust the text, not you, yourself, your techniques and your talents. Second thing this experience reminded me of is that in the end, delivering a lesson is about trusting God. So trust the text, but also trust God. It made me ask myself the question, how much do I trust God here? In the preparation for my lesson, as in the structural part and putting slides together, I only had a little bit of time on Sunday morning. And that was very precious time. I had very little of it. So what did I do? I did do some preparation here at my desk, but I also went out to pray. And I went out to pray through the text and talk about this with God, because in the end, if he's not in this, what's the point? I can have a beautiful outline. I can have wonderful slides. But if it's not really about God, there is no point. So make time to pray, even if you have a little bit of time. Make time to pray. That's probably more important. Well, no. It is more important than your technical preparation. Thirdly, I had to ask myself on Sunday, do I trust the congregation? So do I trust the text? Do I trust God? But also, do I trust my brothers and sisters? In other words, do I trust their motivation to learn? Let's face it, sometimes you can hear a lesson that's delivered with, should we say, less than excellent clarity or professionalism or prep, or maybe it's not as prepared as well as it could and perhaps should be, but you still got a lot out of it. And why is that? It's because you were motivated to learn. If you're motivated to learn, You will learn even from a poor teacher, or a poorly prepared teacher, or a poor lesson, or a poorly prepared structure to a lesson. Your motivation matters more than anything. Does my congregation want to learn? And of course, the answer is yes. Now, you have to answer that for your own congregation, and if they're not, that's something to deal with, topic for another day. But I had to ask that question of myself. Do I trust the congregation's motivation to learn and ability to learn? And the answer was absolutely yes. And so as a result, it took pressure off me. They want to learn. I'll do my best with this, but in the end, they're going to take it on, aren't they? And as a result, in the actual lesson, I asked more questions than I usually would. I always ask questions, but I asked a lot more than usual to get them engaged with it and thinking and discussing and learning from one another. And I left more things open in the lesson. I didn't drill down to all the possible applications of different things that are talked about in this passage. I left them more open and told the congregation, this might be something you would want to go away and study for yourself. Why not look into this some more? Do a Bible study on rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. What does that actually mean? Do your own Bible study. And that's helpful because in the end, what we all want as preachers and teachers is for people to be self-motivated to go away and do their own study. In fact, I believe that part of the reason for preaching and teaching is not just to impart the facts of what's there, but to motivate people to go and study it more for themselves. Anytime somebody says to me, what you said was really helpful, I went away and did more study, I think, okay, I've done my job. And that is all about trusting the congregation. So trust the text, trust God, and trust the congregation. In conclusion, a further point I'd make is this. I think it may help us when we think about being struggling with procrastination and perfectionism to remember that you and I are fundamentally creatives. We are creative people, and no creation is ever really finished. God's creation was finished, but your and mine never is. A painting is never really finished. A piece of music is never really finished. I'm a witness the number of versions of symphonies. Say Dvorak wrote 9 symphonies, but there are so many versions of those 9 symphonies. No one is ever really finished. There's the one you send to the printer. It's still never really finished. I wrote a book. I read it and I think, I could improve on that. Nothing is ever really finished. And it's true of teaching and preaching. Nothing is ever really perfect. Never can be. It's never really finished. Come back to it another time and you would do it a different way. So what that means is this. You have to send your sermon, your lesson out there into the world before it's ready. It's never really ready, is it? Who gets to decide what that means anyway? If a sermon is really finished, I would say it's dead. It's basically dead because it's not living anymore. It hasn't got any room to breathe. It can't adjust. It can't change. Now, I think a sermon's never really finished. No lesson ever really is finished. Jesus seemed like he repackaged his parables in different ways at different times for different circumstances. Same thing for us. We deliver the best we can in the circumstances we find ourselves in, trusting the text, trusting God, trusting the congregation, and letting God do his work. What do you think about this? What helps you with your procrastination and your perfectionism? Those two things can get in the way of a really good lesson. Last thing before we wrap up, I wonder if you might like to sign up for the Athens Institute of Ministry UK and Ireland modules that are coming up. Next one is Old Testament interpretation, as I record this in March 2023. Go to the AIM website, that's AIM UK and Ireland, one word, aimukandireland.com. You can find information there. If you've got any questions, send me an email, malcolm@malcolmcox.org. I'd love to have you there. The better we can interpret the Old Testament, the better we'll do at teaching and preaching. And don't procrastinate. Go ahead and have a look at that right now. Why not? If you've got any comments, please add them anywhere you hear or see this recording. We learn best when we're learning in community. Got any questions about the Bible? Drop me an email, as I mentioned earlier. If you'd like a copy of my newsletter, then sign up at my website for that, and you'll get my free ebook on spiritual disciplines. If you know anybody that might benefit, please pass the link on. Subscribe, hit that notification button, and the more the merrier is all I can say about that. And until the next time, whatever you're struggling with any procrastination, with any perfectionism, bear in mind, God is with you. Trust him, trust the text, trust your congregation, keep calm, and carry on teaching. Take care, and God bless.